kind of the spectrum, because I'm going to talk to you today about the spectrum of DID. Now, DID and dissociation is something that our mind does as a coping skill when things get really difficult for it to manage. So we get overstressed, we get traumatized, we get whatever it may be in our brain. It's almost like a protective mechanism where it's like, oh my gosh, I can't handle this. This is way too much. And we go into dreamland. And we float above ourselves to some extent. Some of you talk about dissociation like you're watching yourself do things, but you don't have any control over your body. Some people even describe that when they have panic attacks, like they almost can't help themselves. They feel like they're like drowning, like they're watching themselves, float away. And it's something that our brain does when it just feels, honestly, like completely overwhelmed. So that's the reason behind it. Now, most of my clients who struggle with dissociation and have DID are people who have a traumatic past. It may have been sexual abuse, it may have been physical abuse, it may have been like anything repeated of those sorts, or something that just seemed so overwhelming and horrible, like a complete devastation of their city if they were hit by a tornado or something like that. I've had clients who have very traumatic pasts, and that's where the dissociation starts. Now, the way they describe it is on a spectrum. Now, those of us who don't struggle with dissociation regularly may have the experience that I have when I get really exhausted and stressed out and I'm driving home from work and I'm like, la 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 la, I'm singing my favorite song, who knows what it is, and then I'm like, wow, I made it home. How did I get here, right? And you're like, holy shit, how did I get here? That's dissociation. And it's really daydreaming almost. Like we just kind of space out. We just go into autopilot, right? We have all these terms we use, but that's kind of like on this end of the spectrum. Like, well, it's very mild. It's kind of just because we're tired. We had a lot going on, but now we're back and our life wasn't disturbed by it. Now, that is like the low end of the spectrum. The high end of the spectrum being someone who fully participates in a whole other life. Hence why this used to be called multiple personality disorder, because people will create a complete alter ego, I guess, or alternative life. And I talk about this in Melissa's video a little bit about maladaptive daydreaming. Now, they call it maladaptive daydreaming. It's really just on the farther end of the spectrum of dissociation and DID. And people can spend hours each day in this daydream, and you will have a whole nother life. Like, my name could be Lucy, and I live in New York City in Soho, and I have this amazing husband, which I already have. Hey, Sean. And I have this amazing house. I have this cute dog. He's a French bulldog. He's a rescue. He's so cute. Right? We create this ideal alternate universe. Now, no wonder we want to live there, right? I'd like to have that life. Hello. And so, our real life, when you have to let go of that, when a doctor or a therapist is like, you're spending 5 hours a day daydreaming as this other person, you're going to have to stop. We look at them and we're like, are you kidding me? My life right now is a little hectic. If you haven't noticed, I'm a little stressed out. Things aren't really going my way. I don't really want to leave this life to come back to my regular life. And so therein lies the struggle. Now, the main reason that it will go away, or that the urges to spend all this time in this other alternate universe or with this alternate persona, is when we actually treat that initial trauma. Because people with DID, it usually starts when we're very young. Like, let's say 8 to 12. That's usually the range when people begin showing symptoms of this. And it obviously can differ. If you've had a trauma when you're much younger than that, you might have remembered it younger. Or if the trauma happened a little older, you might be a little bit older. But that's kind of what we've noticed. Now, when we work through that trauma and we do all of that horrible, hard trauma work, we process through it, we work with our therapist. Talk therapy, they say, is the best. And then after that is CBT therapy. I bet you're seeing a pattern that those are usually the most useful, but research shows those are the most useful. And so if we work through that trauma, all of a sudden, we aren't daydreaming anymore. We don't know why. We're not dissociating. Things get stressful and we are here and we are fine and we manage. And that's the end of it, to be honest. So what DID really is a way for our brains to cope when we're really overwhelmed. And we have to kind of go away from what's happening, because what's happening right now is just way too much. and so we'll go away. But once we process through all of that traumatic, all those traumatic happenings, then we're okay to be present, to stay present.
Yeah.
So does it happen, I mean, all of a sudden, because Adam is 10 years old.
Yeah.
Does he, because I mean, every 10-year-old still, or I don't know now, but well, 10-year-olds probably a cut-off age, but I mean, most of them would like to go to toy stores or whatever, or do kids things.
Sure.
Have you found yourself in surroundings and changing back to Helen and go, why the hell am I here?
Then I've spent over £400. That's English pounds. I don't know how it converts to euros, but
Like 600 euros.
600 euros on Lego.
On Lego.
Not all in one go.
No.
But that's what money gets spent on toys, on teddies. But now we've got enough.
None of the personalities relate to each other, do they? As in, you know, they don't know.
Well, we write to each other.
You do?
Yeah.
If Adam wants some Lego, he'll write a little note. Dear Helen, I've seen some nice Lego in the shop. Is it okay if I buy it? And Helen will get the note whenever she gets it, and I guess write back to him, and then he knows.
Sometimes the Lego's already bought.
So then you get pissed off as Helen. I didn't say you could do that.
Yeah.
Or you write an angry note.
Who spent £5 out of my wallet?
And then like
that way
an
she can
hour
keep
later,
track.
7 people will go, I didn't do it, I didn't do it, I didn't do it.
It's not quite like that.
Is it exhausting for you, this life?
I don't switch as much as I used to. So, I mean, I used to... I take medication, which is basically major tranquilizers to keep me sort of from being hyper.
Because, I mean, oh, okay. So you actually have too much energy.
And from hearing voices and things like that. But I forgot what we were talking about now. I've got Adam talking in the back of my head.
Does he want to come back?
Yes.
Will you let him come back?
He wants another drink now, Adam.
So you hear Adam talking, his voice.
Yeah.
So you know he's going to come?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Probably.
And there's no way you could stop that now, or...
I'm fighting it.
You're fighting it, yeah?
Yeah.
And what if you just let it happen? Hey.
Hello.
Hi. Why are you looking at me like that? You got chubby cheeks, you.
Yeah, you want to scream? Yeah. That's me. I'm a cheeky kind of guy. Well, welcome back.
That makes two of us.
Yeah, you also have nice cheeks. I like your cheeks. It's very nice. So, Adam, hi, how are you? Where were you? What have you been doing? You were gone for a bit.
Yeah, I was gone for a bit.
Now you're back.
Yeah.
What do you want to learn? What would you like to do?
I like to sit in your chair.
Yeah, you want to sit in my chair?
Yeah.
Really?
And interview you.
No! We can't do that. We can't do that.
Why not?
Because one of my personalities will come out and I don't like that.
In the last few years, MRI scanners like this have given scientists unprecedented access to the brain, allowing them to see brain activity actually taking place. The question is, can it shed some light on the mystery of multiple personality disorder? It's something a colleague of Dr. Condi's, Goshen Sai, has wanted to try for some time.
There are two problems to do this study. Number one, in the past, we don't have a machine like fMRI who can do the study quickly and correctly. Number two, we don't have the right subject, which can kind of control their switching, because we need to have them to switch on the scanner.
Hi, Louise.
My name is Susan. I'm going to be doing your scan.
The doctors show us how they scan Louise's brain. Because she can bring on her switching, they'll ask her to change character while the machine is on. She won't be able to move or speak during the test, so she's asked to activate a warning beeper to indicate when she's switched.
Okay. I want you to practice with that. Squeeze that ball.
Louise is first asked to switch to one of her childlike personalities.
Okay, now I want you to switch to watcher now. Imagine that you're an 8-year-old girl named Watcher. You like to watch what happens with Louise.
The switch happens, and then they do a control experiment. Louise is asked not to switch, but to pretend to be an imaginary child.
I want you to imagine you're an 8-year-old girl named Player. You like to play with a neighbor girl named Helen.
The results of the original test on Louise appear to show something remarkable. These coloured areas represent a big decrease in brain activity at the very moment Louise switches personality. Intriguingly, it happens in the hippocampus, an area responsible for long-term memory. But there's no change during the control experiment.
So you can see here, that's a brain structure called hippocampus. That's the area where activity got changed, as highlighted by color here, when she switched personality.
So what do you make of these results?
To me, that is saying that there's a brain basis for her personality switching.
For Louise, the results are great news.
I was ecstatic over the results because there was finally proof, a way to prove for all those people out there who don't believe that it exists. There was finally proof that it does.
Louise is now happily settled with her new husband, Cliff, and hopes before long she'll stop switching personality. The psychiatrist would like to do more tests on her and find other similar patients to see if the results are more than a one-off. If so, it's hoped the work may one day lead to a definitive test for the condition and even new treatments.
Well, Louise certainly feels vindicated by the results of the scan, but the researchers in Boston think there's still a lot more work to do. And as it's such a controversial condition, we have with us Dr. Raj Prasad and Dr. Tonmoy Sharma. Now, Dr. Prasad, you are convinced that the condition exists.
Well, like most British psychiatrists, before this new study came along, I was pretty sceptical about whether multiple personality disorder really existed. And that was partly because here in Britain we make the diagnosis much less frequently than they do in America. And in Britain we often believe that maybe these people are pretending to have other personalities as a way of getting attention. But the important thing about this new study and why it's very persuasive is that while this lady was in the brain scanner, they asked her to pretend to be another personality. And the brain activity changed and was different to when she actually was behaving as if she had another one of her alternative personalities. And this is very persuasive evidence that multiple personality disorder isn't just pretense and really exists.
Gretchen traveled 2,000 miles to get specialized treatment at a psychiatric hospital in Texas, which has a specialty in treating multiple personality disorder.
There's one thing to get a memory.
Hospital therapy focuses on recovering repressed memories. Like Gretchen, everyone here is struggling to come to terms with the truth about their past.
Being able to accept what you're getting, your memories, may mean that you also have to accept something about someone you don't want to. What's the most painful thing about it?
Believing that that really happened.
To you?
To this body. Her legs go up to a white shirt.
In therapy, personalities began to emerge who had experienced abuse that Gretchen herself didn't remember. Kevin asked questions to try and piece together what had happened.
Is there a beard on the chin?
No.
No beard?
A personality who was a frightened child remembers the approach of someone who hurt her.
If I get real small, if I get real small,
the memories became increasingly vivid and were experienced as if the abuse were actually happening. past and present were indistinguishable.
We're still in Texas. It's 1992. You're safe. But I know this is a real scary memory. What are you seeing?
Big hands.
Big hands? What's happening with the big hands?
When the experience was too much to bear, the child personality tried to escape into the wall.
Big hands. Big hands.
When alter personalities have memories and relive abuse, Gretchen herself gets closer to remembering what happened to her. Who's here?
It's myself. The best thing about journal writing is we just come popping out. That's my writing. That's my writing. See, I go on for pages. That's Gretchen's writing.
You used to hurt Gretchen?
I would do anything to destroy anything she did and to hurt her in any way I could. And I used to be one of those inside that belittled her and called her names and swore at her and hurt her. I cut the shit out of her. And I'm very good at it. I'm the one who severed the artery in the 4 tendons.
Why did you do that?
I wanted to kill her. I hated her.
What did she do?
I stopped growing at 14 because that's when she began becoming interested in boys and dating and all of that. And I hated it. I didn't want any part of it. So I quit. I wasn't going to be any more than 14.
Gretchen was unaware of the memories that had been revealed in therapy. The next step was for her to learn about the abuse that had always been too painful to remember.
She doesn't understand that it was small. Do you understand that? Killing. I still think it is. As we walk through this,
What of the others?
pay attention to this, but also be aware of what's going on inside you, okay?
Oh, man. Don't ask too much of me, Kevin.
What of the others that also hurt? One that Gretchen doesn't understand is why the body wasn't able to fight more back then.
In the bathroom, over to us.
Kevin asked Gretchen to watch videotape of the therapy so she would know what her other personalities had remembered.
The hands.
But when Gretchen began to hear details of her abuse, her mind began to block the experience. This is how Gretchen protected herself when she was a child.
And then what?
Then there was a penis in her mouth. Oh.
Okay. Stay in the bathroom. Okay, stay connected here. What are you feeling right now?